Now, officials of the Education Ministry and the Ghana Education Service are making a strong case for more community involvement in early childhood education to improve learning outcomes in the sector. The education management bodies are stepping up sensitization as part of the implementation of the guidelines on family and community education. The guidelines aim to increase partnerships between schools, parents, families, children, and communities. Our correspondent in the Ashanti region, Hafiz Tijani, has more.
Developing children at the early stages of their educational career makes a greater impact in improving learning outcomes throughout their educational journey. There are, however, concerns over how communities are not getting involved in supporting stakeholders to achieve learning outcomes for children. The Ministry of Education is worried about this trend and says the development of children must not be the sole responsibility of the teacher. Deputy Education Minister John Ntim Fojo maintains the education of children must not be left in the hands of only the teachers.
We realize by evidence and data and research that in most communities and families and parents are not as involved in the development of their learners as much as teachers are involved. And so we want to move away from the misperception that it's only teachers that must take care of the development of the child, and that learning must only take place in the classroom. Beyond the classroom, learning takes place also in the home. And so we want parents, we want families, we want communities to be engaged and involved in education and development of the early child. We want the communities and families to be aware of their responsibilities and the role that they can play in ensuring a holistic development of the early child.
The Deputy Education Minister, at the launch of the guidelines for family and community engagement for early childhood practitioners in Kumasi, spoke about how the policy will improve learning outcomes.
That have streamlined what teachers have to do, the role of parents, the role of families, the role of communities and stakeholders, so we all take interest in the development of the early child. And that is where we're going to be transforming the fortunes of this country one community at a time. When you look at it at the aggregate level, it might look Herculean, but let's focus it on one community at a time. So if in a community, the chief is involved in the education of the young ones, and parents are involved, family members are involved, assembly members are involved, the assembly are involved, the member of parliament, all the stakeholders, the clergy, they are all involved, and ensuring that every child in that community, however small it is, must have and must be supported in education.
The director in charge of early childhood education at the Ghana Education Service indicates stakeholders in the education sector are being sensitized on the guidelines to help enhance community involvement.
The communication between the school and the home, there is a kind of gap also there. So we needed to bridge that gap to improve upon the relationship between the school and the home and the community. So that is what the guideline seems to address. All stakeholders who matter in education, they are supposed to be oriented or sensitized on the guidelines so that they will use it.
The United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, is pledging its continuous support to empower community leaders to be more involved in the education of children.
This guideline, in fact, is not just the guideline. We started, as I indicated, we started with the early childhood education policy. We've supported the ECE policy and then ensured that as part of the policy, there was this component, the family and community engagement, which we thought was really critical. In fact, when we were developing the policy, this area was a major critical area where we had huge gap in terms of evidence, in terms of data. And so as part of the policy, we had indicated it became one of the strategies to develop the family and community engagement guidelines.
Participants, including early childhood education coordinators from various districts were engaged in taking through the guidelines. The Ghana Education Service is pledging to roll out measures to strengthen Ghana's education system, but however calls for more stakeholder support. Hafiz Tijani, City News, Kumasi.